Breaking. EU's new AI standard makes ISO 42001 obsolete for compliance. The European Union just dropped a bombshell that could cost businesses millions. A new draft standard published in October 2025 reveals that ISO 42001 certification, the gold standard for AI governance that companies have been rushing to obtain, will not be sufficient for EU AI Act compliance. Let me repeat that. If you've spent tens of thousands getting ISO 42001 certified, thinking you're covered for the EU AI Act, you're not. The new standard is called prEN 18286, and it changes everything. Here's what's happening. The EU AI Act becomes enforceable on August 2nd, 2026. That's just months away. Companies providing high-risk AI systems in the European market must comply with Article 17, which requires a quality management system. For the past 2 years, consultants have been telling businesses, get ISO 42001 certified, and you'll be fine. But the European standards body just published a 56-page draft that tells a different story. prEN 18286 is a purpose-built quality management system specifically for EU AI Act regulatory compliance, and it's significantly more demanding than ISO 42001. Let's break down the critical differences. First, legal status. ISO 42001 is a voluntary standard. Companies choose whether to implement it. prEN 18286 is what's called a harmonized standard. Once it's cited in the EU's official journal, compliance gives you a legal presumption of conformity with EU law. It's not optional if you want to operate in Europe. Second, scope. ISO 42001 covers general AI governance. It's flexible. Organizations pick which requirements to address based on their stakeholders. prEN 18286 is laser-focused on regulatory compliance. You don't get to choose. You must address all applicable regulatory requirements, non-negotiable. Third, essential requirements. Here's where it gets serious. prEN 18286 introduces 7 mandatory essential requirements that don't exist in ISO 42001. Risk management systems, data governance, technical documentation, record-keeping, transparency obligations, human oversight, accuracy, robustness, and cybersecurity. For each requirement, you must select compliance measures in a specific priority order. Harmonized standards first, then common specifications, then other standards, and only then your own technical solutions. And here's the kicker. If you use your own solutions, you must document why harmonized standards weren't suitable and provide objective evidence that you still meet every requirement. ISO 42001 has no such hierarchy, no such burden of proof. Fourth, post-market monitoring, prEN. 18286 requires extensive, prescriptive post-market monitoring systems. You must actively track your AI system's performance from the moment it's deployed until it's retired. The standard specifies exactly how to structure your monitoring scope, approach, and procedures. You need processes to identify new risks, interact with deployers, and document every non-conformity. ISO 42001 just says you should evaluate performance. That's it. Fifth, incident reporting. This is where regulatory teeth really show. prEN 18286 mandates legally binding timelines for serious incident reporting. Critical infrastructure incidents, report within 2 days. Incidents involving death, report within 10 days. All other serious incidents, report within 15 days. These aren't guidelines. These are legal obligations. Miss the deadline, face the consequences. ISO 42001 doesn't mention incident reporting at all. So what does this mean for your budget? If you're starting from scratch with prEN 18286 compliance, expect to spend between 40,000 and 80,000 euros. Implementation takes 6 to 9 months. Big Four consultants are still charging the same as before, 30,000 to 50,000 just for the initial assessment. Total compliance cost between 193,000 and 330,000 euros for setup, plus 71,000 annually for maintenance. But here's the painful part. If you've already invested in ISO 42001 certification thinking you were covered, you're looking at an additional 55,000 to 110,000 euros to close the compliance gap. That's right. ISO 42001 gets you maybe 40% of the way there. You'll need to add essential requirements mapping, a complete post-market monitoring system, serious incident procedures, fundamental rights impact frameworks, documentation overhauls, harmonized standards, selection processes, all of this work, all of this cost. Because ISO 42001 wasn't designed for regulatory compliance. Let's talk timeline. The draft was published in October 2025. It's currently in public inquiry, which typically lasts 3 to 6 months. Expected finalization, mid-2026. Citation in the official journal, late 2026 or early 2027. But remember, the EU AI Act enforcement begins August 2nd, 2026 for high-risk systems. And that gives businesses roughly 12 to 18 months to prepare